The conference room floated in the darkness of space, a small bubble of light and diplomacy on the edge of human territory. Captain Han Jiwoo stood against the back wall, his eyes scanning the room with trained precision. 12 Marines under his command were spread throughout Terran Station Omega, watching, waiting, ready for threats that diplomatic missions always promised but rarely delivered. Ambassador Kang Hyun-woo sat at the curved table, his voice calm and measured as he presented Earth's proposal. Across from him sat two very different creatures. Commander Velthar of the Hive Collective chittered softly, his insectoid body shifting in the specially designed chair. His compound eyes reflected the holographic display in 1,000 tiny fragments. Beside him, Diplomat Koran of the Scaled Empire remained perfectly still, as reptilian beings often did, only the occasional flick of his tongue betraying any emotion. Earth seeks only peaceful expansion, Kang said, gesturing to star charts that showed human colony requests. These systems are uninhabited. We harm no one by settling there. Velthar's translator box crackled. Uninhabited by those you recognize as intelligent, perhaps. Han's jaw tightened. 3 months of these meetings and the aliens still treated humanity like children playing with adult tools. Earth had joined the galactic community only 15 years ago. To species that measured history in millennia, humans were infants. Dangerous infants perhaps, but infants nonetheless. Private Nam Yunji touched her earpiece at the communication station down the hall. The young woman frowned at her screen, fingers dancing across the controls. Something was wrong with the signal traffic. Too much encrypted chatter between the Hive and Scaled ships in orbit, patterns that made no sense for a peaceful diplomatic mission. She ran the analysis again. Her stomach dropped. Captain Han, she whispered into her comm unit, keeping her voice steady despite the ice flooding her veins. We have a problem. I'm seeing coordinated military signals. They're planning. The station shuddered. Explosions blossomed along the outer ring. Atmosphere screamed through sudden breaches. Alarms shrieked their warnings too late. The docking bay doors, meant to open slowly and safely, were blown inward by shaped charges. Through the smoke and debris, alien soldiers poured into Terran Station Omega like insects flooding a crack in a wall. Han was already moving. All units, defensive positions! Protect the ambassador. In the conference room, Kang barely had time to stand before Velthar moved with shocking speed. The insectoid alien's blade arm extended, cutting through the air where the ambassador's throat had been a heartbeat before. Koran's guards raised plasma rifles, their weapons humming to life. Han's sidearm cleared its holster in a smooth draw practiced 10,000 times. 2 shots, both headshots on Koran's guards before they could fire. The Scaled diplomat hissed in surprise and dove for cover. Kang hit the floor as Han laid down covering fire, backing toward the exit. Betrayal, Kang gasped. They planned this together. Noticed that, sir, Han replied, his tone dry despite the chaos. He keyed his comm. Yunji status. 300 plus hostiles, Captain. Both species, full combat gear. They're hitting every section simultaneously. 300 against 12. Han's mind processed the math in an instant. Unwinnable by conventional standards. His Marines were good, the best Earth could produce, but numbers like that should mean certain death. The screaming started from the residential section. Diplomats, scientists, civilians who thought peace talks meant safety. Han heard the distinct crack of plasma weapons and the wet sounds that followed. His people were dying. Sergeant Choi, Han barked into his comm while reloading. Get to the civilians. I want every survivor in the command center within 5 minutes. On it, sir! Choi Minho's voice came back steady. Explosions punctuated his words. We've got heavy resistance in Corridor 12. Go through Corridor 11. Sir, Corridor 11 is exposed, yes. They won't expect it. Move, Sergeant. Han heard Choi's dark chuckle. You're a mean old man, Captain, and you love it. Go. In the communications room, Yunji sealed the door and began overriding station systems. Her fingers trembled but didn't slow. She wasn't a combat soldier. 6 months out of training, and her specialty was signals intelligence, not shooting. But she was a Marine, and Marines didn't quit. The door buckled under plasma fire. They were coming for her. Yunji grabbed her rifle and flipped the desk for cover. It wouldn't stop plasma, but it would hide her position. She took 3 deep breaths, just like the range instructor taught her, and waited. The door exploded inward. 4 Hive soldiers skittered through, their multiple limbs carrying them across walls and ceiling with disturbing ease. They chittered to each other in their clicking language, Scanning for threats, Yunji shot the first one through the center mass. It dropped, twitching. The second turned toward her, too slow. 2 more shots. The third and fourth fired plasma bolts that superheated the air where she'd been standing. But Yunji was already rolling, coming up in a new position, firing as she moved. 4 shots. 4 targets down. Her hands shook as she reloaded. Had she just killed 4 beings? The thought lasted only a second before training took over. They came to kill her. She defended herself. No time for philosophy during a firefight. "Captain, communications room secure," she reported, impressed her voice didn't crack. "I'm sending the distress signal now. Good work, Private. How long for help to arrive?" Yunji checked her calculations and felt her heart sink. 3 weeks, sir, minimum." Silence on the comm. Then Han's voice, calm as if discussing the weather. "Then we hold for 3 weeks." Across the station, Corporal Yoon Daiho found his perfect position. The observation dome offered clear sightlines down 3 major corridors. His rifle, a precision instrument that outranged anything the aliens carried, settled against his shoulder like an old friend. Yoon breathed slowly, watching alien squad leaders direct their troops. They moved with confidence, certain of easy victory. He selected his first target, a scaled Empire officer with decorative armor that marked him as someone important. The rifle whispered. The officer's head snapped back, his body collapsing mid-order. Confusion rippled through the alien ranks. Where had that come from? They scanned the corridors, looking for the shooter at ground level. Yoon smiled and selected his second target. And his third. And his fourth. In the industrial sector, Sergeant Choi Minho worked quickly, his hands sure despite the plasma fire tracking his position. The mining explosives were meant for asteroid work, but chemistry didn't care about intent. He wired 3 charges together, added a remote detonator, and placed the package at a structural weak point. "Fire in the hole," he transmitted, then triggered the device. The explosion was beautiful in a terrible way. The corridor collapsed, cutting off the main alien advance route and crushing 20 soldiers under tons of debris. Choi grinned fiercely. "That's what we call engineering." Private First Class Shinjina worked over a wounded scientist, her hands steady despite the sounds of battle growing closer. The woman had taken plasma fire to the shoulder. Bad but survivable with treatment. "Stay quiet," Gina whispered, injecting painkillers. "I've got you." Aliens appeared at the end of the corridor. Gina didn't hesitate. Her sidearm came up and she fired while still kneeling beside her patient. 3 shots, 1 target down. She shifted aim. 3 more shots. Another target fell. The remaining aliens retreated, unwilling to face whatever kind of demon could heal and kill simultaneously. In orbit, Commander Velthar watched his tactical display with growing confusion. 30 minutes into the assault and his forces had barely advanced. Casualties were mounting in ways that made no sense. 12 defenders, 12. His warriors numbered in the hundreds. "Demand their surrender," he ordered. Broadcast in all human languages. The message went out, translated into English, Mandarin, Spanish, and a dozen others. "Lay down your weapons. You cannot win. Surrender and be spared." Captain Han Jiwoo's response was a single rifle shot that destroyed the broadcast speaker in the main corridor. Velthar's mandibles clicked in agitation. What manner of beings refuse logic itself? Koran, monitoring from his own ship, had a different reaction. He'd studied Earth's history during the diplomatic preparations. He'd read about their wars, their refusal to accept defeat even in hopeless situations, their disturbing tendency to fight harder when cornered. "Commander Velthar," he said slowly, "I believe we may have made a serious error." "Nonsense. We outnumber them 25 to 1. "Yes," Koran agreed, his scaled face grim. "But I do not think they care." 6 hours into the siege, Warlord Krenik of the Hive Collective stared at his casualty reports and felt something his species rarely experienced. Doubt. 40 soldiers dead in the first engagement, another 30 in the second. The numbers climbed with each corridor his forces entered. "This is impossible," he chittered to his subcommanders. "They are mammals. Soft, weak, slow." Perhaps intelligence was incorrect, one suggested carefully. Krenok's blade arm twitched with irritation. Intelligence had been very clear. Humans were a young species, barely spacefaring with no significant military victories against major powers. They should have broken immediately. Instead, they were killing his soldiers at a rate that defied belief. In Corridor 7, Sergeant Choi Minho set his latest trap with the care of an artist. 3 claymore mines angled to create a kill zone with no cover. Tripwires set at heights calculated for insectoid and reptilian body structures. Behind it all, a false wall that looked like a defensive position but was actually packed with industrial explosives. "Come on," he muttered. "Just a little closer." The alien squad advanced, weapons ready, scanning for threats. They spotted the false wall and called for support. Perfect, more targets. Choi waited until 20 aliens clustered at the corridor junction. Then he triggered everything at once. The mines fired first, shredding the front ranks. The survivors dove for cover behind the false wall. Choi detonated the main charge. The explosion was massive, confined by the corridor's structure into a directional blast that liquefied everything in its path. When the smoke cleared, the corridor no longer existed. Neither did the aliens. Corridor 7 closed permanently, Choi reported. Estimated 20 kills. "Good hunting, Sergeant," Captain Han replied. The captain was in the command center now, coordinating defense while Ambassador Kang worked beside him, using his diplomatic knowledge to predict alien tactics. "They will flank through the residential section," Kang said, pointing at the schematic. "It's their only remaining approach to this position." "Yoon, you hearing this?" Han asked. Corporal Yoon Daeho's voice came back quiet and calm. "Already in position, sir. I have eyes on the residential approach." From his perch in the upper observation post, Yoon watched alien forces gathering below. They moved in formation, professional and coordinated. Good soldiers following good tactics. Against most opponents, this would work. Yoon wasn't most opponents. His first shot took the commanding officer through the throat. The alien's translator box sparked and died with him. Without orders, the squad hesitated. Fatal mistake. Yoon worked methodically. 1 shot, 1 kill. He didn't rush. Didn't panic. Each trigger pull was a deliberate choice, each target selected for maximum disruption. Squad leaders first, heavy weapons specialists second, then anyone who looked like they might take charge. The alien force, 60 strong when they entered the corridor, numbered 37 by the time they reached cover. They had no idea where the shots came from. No muzzle flash, no sound loud enough to locate. Just death from nowhere. One scaled soldier, braver or more foolish than the rest, broke from cover and sprinted for better position. Yoon's shot caught him mid-stride, the impact spinning him completely around before he fell. The remaining aliens pressed themselves deeper into cover and refused to move. "Residential approach neutralized," Yoon reported. "They're pinned." Private First Class Shinjina moved through the medical bay, checking on the 14 civilians she'd managed to save. Most were wounded but stable. The security technician had lost an arm to plasma fire. The chef from the station's mess hall had burns across 60% of his body. Both would live if Gina had anything to say about it. "Stay quiet," she whispered to them. "I know you're scared. So am I, but we're alive and we're staying that way." The door alarm chirped. Someone was trying to override it. Gina grabbed her rifle and took position behind a surgical table. The civilians couldn't run, couldn't fight. She was all that stood between them and death. The door exploded inward. 3 Hive soldiers rushed through, expecting easy prey. Gina shot the first one before it cleared the doorway. The second made it 3 steps before her bullets found its center mass. The third got its weapon up and fired. Plasma scorched past Gina's head, close enough to singe her hair. She didn't flinch. 3 shots, controlled and precise. The alien fell. Gina's hands shook as she reloaded. Behind her, one of the civilians sobbed quietly. She wanted to sob too, wanted to scream, wanted to run. But she was a Marine, and Marines didn't abandon their people. "You're safe," she told the civilians, her voice steady despite everything. "I've got you." General Sothmar of the Scaled Empire studied his tactical display with growing alarm. His forces were superior in every measurable way. Better weapons, better armor, better numbers. Yet they were losing. "Explain this," he demanded of his tactical officer, gesturing at the casualty reports. "The humans employ unconventional tactics, General. They do not hold territory. They strike and retreat, set traps, use the station's structure against us. That is guerrilla warfare. Primitive tactics. Effective tactics, sir." Sothmar hissed his frustration. "We have 180 soldiers remaining. The humans have 12. This should be simple. 9, actually, sir." "What?" "The humans have 9 soldiers left. We killed 3 in Section 12. Sothmar did the math. Started with 300, now at 180. Lost 120 soldiers to kill 3 enemies. A 40-to-1 kill ratio, in the humans' favor. Recommend immediate retreat. The tactical officer suggested carefully. We can bombard the station from orbit. Commander Velthar will never agree. This has become a matter of pride for him. And pride, Sothmar thought grimly, was about to get a lot more beings killed. Private Nam Yunji crouched in the communications room, surrounded by her electronic fortress. She'd managed to get distress signals out, but help was still weeks away. In the meantime, she'd become the station's eyes and ears. "Captain," she reported, "large force forming in the cargo bay. Looks like they're preparing a major push. Numbers? 60 plus. They're bringing heavy weapons this time." Han was quiet for a moment. Yunji imagined him thinking, calculating, planning. Finally, let them commit to the corridor, then seal the blast doors behind them. "Sir, that will trap them in Section 4 with Sergeant Choi." "I know." Yunji heard Choi's laugh over the comm. "One man against 60? Captain, you spoil me. Don't get cocky, Sergeant. Use the prepared positions and fall back to checkpoint Bravo." "What's the fun in that?" Despite everything, Yunji smiled. The sergeant's humor was dark, but it kept morale up, made the impossible seem merely difficult. She watched her screens as the alien force advanced. 63 soldiers, heavily armed, moving with determination through the main corridor toward the command center. They'd learned from earlier mistakes. No bunching up. Good spacing. Overlapping fields of fire. "They're getting smarter," she warned. "Doesn't matter," Choi replied. "Smart is still predictable." The aliens reached the junction. Yunji sealed the blast doors behind them with a keystroke. Trap set. Choi opened fire from an elevated position they'd never spotted. His heavy machine gun, scavenged from the station's armory, roared to life. The confined space amplified the sound to deafening levels. Bullets ricocheted off walls, creating a storm of shrapnel. Aliens dove for cover. Returned fire. Plasma bolts superheated the air. Choi was already moving, relocating to his second position. He fired again, different angle, catching them exposed. Then he triggered the charges he'd set earlier. The corridor's support structure groaned and failed. The ceiling came down in sections, crushing some aliens and separating others. Dust and smoke filled the air. Emergency lighting flickered. Choi moved through the chaos like a ghost, appearing long enough to fire and vanish before return fire found him. He used smoke grenades, flashbangs, anything to create confusion. The aliens had numbers and firepower. He had knowledge of every duct, every passage, every hiding spot in this section. Checkpoint Bravo reached, he reported 15 minutes later, breathing hard. Estimated 40 kills. Maybe 45. Casualties? Han asked. Shrapnel in the leg. Nothing serious, Yunji checked the sensors. 23 alien life signs remained in Section 4, scattered and disorganized. Most were retreating. Commander Velthar watched his numbers dwindle and felt rage building in his thorax. This was humiliation. His warriors were the finest the Hive Collective had ever produced, yet these soft mammals were butchering them. No more cautious advances, he ordered. All forces converge on the command center. Overwhelming assault. I want those humans dead. The order went out across both fleets' forces. Every remaining soldier received the same command. Attack. Now. In the command center, alarms began shrieking. Captain? Yunji's voice was tight with stress. Every hostile on the station just changed course. They're all coming here. Han checked his weapon. Full magazine. 2 spares remaining. Not enough, never enough. Everyone to defensive positions. This is it. Ambassador Kang picked up a rifle. He'd never fired one before, but he understood the principle. Point at enemy, pull trigger. I'm not dying without a fight, the diplomat said firmly. Han smiled grimly. Welcome to the Marines, Ambassador. Private Bei Sunho hauled the portable railgun into position, the weapon nearly as large as he was. This was the Marines' only heavy weapon, meant for anti-vehicle work. He'd get maybe 3 shots before it overheated. Make them count, Han told him. Sunho's grin was fierce. Always do, sir. The aliens came in a wave, abandoning tactics for pure aggression. They wanted this over, wanted the humans dead, wanted to salvage something from this disaster. The railgun spoke first. Its projectile moved at hypersonic speeds, punching through 3 aliens before momentum carried it into the wall. The impact crater was impressive. Second shot. 4 more aliens down. Third shot. The weapon overheated, smoke pouring from its coils. Sunho dropped it and grabbed his rifle. Now it was just Marines and their rifles against over 60 alien soldiers in a desperate close-quarters battle. The odds were terrible. The situation was hopeless. The humans fought anyway, because that's what humans did. 20 hours into the siege, Captain Han Jiwoo pressed his hand against the wound in his side and kept firing. Blood seeped between his fingers, warm and wet. The plasma bolt had grazed him during the last assault, cauterizing as it cut. It hurt like hell, but he'd had worse. "Captain, you need medical attention," Private Shinjina said, trying to reach him across the command center. "After," Han replied, dropping an empty magazine and slamming a fresh one home. "We've got company." The aliens had pulled back after their failed assault, leaving 32 of their own dead in the corridors. The Marines had lost Private Kim during that fight. A good soldier. A better friend. Han would mourn later. Right now he had a station to defend. "Yoonji, status update." Private Nam Yoonji's voice came through tired but steady. 143 hostiles remaining, sir. They're regrouping in 3 separate areas. Main force of 78 in the cargo bay. Secondary groups of 35 in engineering and 30 in the docking ring. Han studied his mental map of the station. The aliens had made a tactical error by separating. Their communications were degraded after Yoonji's earlier hacking. They couldn't coordinate properly. "They're vulnerable," Ambassador Kang observed. The diplomat had proven surprisingly useful, his knowledge of alien psychology helping predict their moves. "We could hit them while separated." "That's what I'm counting on," Han replied. He keyed his comm. All units were going offensive. Choi Taek-yoon and Sunho. Hit the engineering group. Fast and brutal. "Be back in 20 minutes. "Yes, sir." Sergeant Choi Minho's enthusiasm was audible. Finally getting to hunt instead of hide. "Gina, stay with the civilians. Yoonji, keep monitoring communications. Ambassador, you're with me. We're paying a visit to the docking ring." Kang blinked in surprise. "Captain, I'm not a soldier. You can shoot, you can move, you're coming. Grab your rifle." Sub-Commander Lirith of the Hive Collective watched her sensor display with growing unease. The humans had been defensive for hours. Now suddenly 3 of them were moving through the station at high speed, heading directly toward the engineering section where her squad was positioned. "Defensive formation," she ordered her 35 soldiers. "They're coming to us." The humans appeared at the end of the corridor like vengeful spirits. Sergeant Choi in the center, Corporal Yoon on the left, Private Sunho on the right. 3 Marines against 35 alien soldiers. The aliens opened fire immediately. Plasma bolts filled the corridor with superheated death. The humans vanished into side passages before the first shots reached them. "Spread out," Lirith ordered. "Hunt them down." Her soldiers moved to comply. It was exactly what the humans wanted. Choi emerged from a maintenance duct behind 6 aliens. His shotgun roared, the confined space amplifying the blast. 3 were down before the others could react. He threw a flash grenade and disappeared back into the ducts. Yoon picked off stragglers from an overhead position. The aliens still hadn't adapted to checking above them. Humans, he'd learned, were excellent climbers. Aliens that evolved in hive tunnels or swamps didn't think vertically. Sunho charged straight through a side room, firing as he moved. The aliens expected tactical retreats, careful positioning. They didn't expect a human to run directly at superior numbers while screaming and shooting everything in sight. "Mad," one alien chittered. "They're mad." Lirith was beginning to agree. She'd studied human warfare during the diplomatic preparations, had read about their tactics, their weapons, their strategies. The file said nothing about this. This wasn't tactics. This was barely controlled chaos. A human shouldn't be able to move through alien forces like water through cracks, appearing and vanishing, killing and escaping. Yet that's exactly what they were doing. In 7 minutes, her 35 soldiers were reduced to 19. The humans had suffered no casualties. "Retreat," Lirith ordered, abandoning her position. "Fall back to the cargo bay." Her remaining soldiers fled. Behind them, she heard the humans' laughter over the station's speakers. They were playing music now. Human music, something with drums and electric guitars. The psychological warfare was as effective as the bullets. At the docking ring, Captain Han and Ambassador Kang approached more carefully. 30 enemies well-positioned, waiting. "We can't charge them like Choi did," Kang whispered. Han smiled grimly. "Different approach. We make them come to us." He pulled a device from his pack. Emergency beacon. Modified to emit a signal suggesting life pods were launching from this section. The aliens wanted no witnesses. They'd have to investigate. Sure enough, 10 soldiers detached from the main group to check the supposed escape attempt. They moved cautiously, weapons ready. Han and Kang waited in ambush. The aliens passed their hiding spot. Han shot the last two in the back before the others realized they were under attack. Kang, hands shaking but determined, fired at the next alien in line. His first 3 shots missed. The fourth caught the creature in the leg. It fell and Kang's next shots finished it. The remaining 7 aliens returned fire. Han and Kang were already moving, using the docking ring's equipment for cover. Plasma scorched the air. Metal glowed where energy bolts struck. Han's rifle clicked empty. No time to reload. He drew his sidearm and kept shooting. 2 more aliens down. Kang got lucky and hit another. 4 aliens left. They rushed forward, trying to overwhelm the 2 humans with numbers and close-range firepower. Han threw his last grenade, not at the aliens, at the fuel line for the docking clamps. The explosion was significant. When the smoke cleared, the 4 aliens were scattered and stunned. Han and Kang finished them methodically. "Back to the main group," Han ordered, reloading. His side was bleeding again, the exertion reopening his wound. Before they realized what we did. The remaining 20 aliens at the docking ring found the bodies of their comrades and panicked. They'd been outflanked, outfought by just 2 humans, one of whom wasn't even a soldier. They retreated to the cargo bay, abandoning their position. Commander Velthar received the reports and felt something close to despair. His forces had been whittled down to 112 soldiers. The humans still had 8 combat-effective Marines plus several armed civilians. The math was becoming unacceptable. "We need reinforcements," Warlord Krenak said, stating the obvious. "No," Velthar's mandibles clacked with fury. "We outnumber them still. We have better weapons, better armor. We should be winning." General Sothmar, listening from his ship, made a decision. His scaled Empire forces numbered 43 out of the remaining 112. Not enough to win alone, but enough to escape. "All scaled Empire units," he transmitted on a private channel. "Withdraw to your ships. We're leaving." "General?" his tactical officer questioned. "Commander Velthar will see this as betrayal. I see it as survival. The Hive wants this station badly enough to die for it. I don't. Withdraw now." His soldiers began filtering out of combat zones, heading for the docking bay where their ships waited. The Hive collective forces, seeing their allies retreating, felt uncertainty spread through their ranks. Sergeant Choi noticed first. "Captain, scaled forces are pulling out, heading for their ships. Let them go," Han ordered. "Focus on the Hive." Yunji watched her sensors. "Sir, the scaled ships are launching. They're leaving the system." Velthar's rage was audible over every channel. "Cowards! Weak-scaled cowards!" But screaming didn't bring them back. His force was now down to 69 soldiers. All Hive collective, all tired, wounded, and increasingly unwilling to die for a station they'd expected to capture in an hour. "Commander," one of his officers said carefully, "perhaps we should consider. We consider nothing but victory." Velthar snapped. "Arm the station's reactor. Set it to overload." The officer froze. "Sir, that will destroy the station and everyone on it." "Yes, if we cannot have it, the humans will not either." "Set the timer for 6 hours. That gives us time to kill the remaining defenders and escape." "And if we can't kill them in 6 hours? Then we all die together." The officer hesitated, then began entering the commands. The station's fusion reactor, meant to power this outpost for decades, began building toward catastrophic failure. In the command center, alarm screamed. "Captain!" Yunji's voice was high with stress. "The reactor's been sabotaged. Overload in 6 hours." Han closed his eyes briefly. Of course they'd do this. Can't win. Destroy everything. Typical. "Can you stop it remotely?" "No, sir. Someone has to physically access the reactor core, and it's in engineering, which is crawling with hostiles." Han looked at his remaining Marines. 8 of them, all wounded to varying degrees. Exhausted, running on adrenaline and stubbornness. They'd fought for 20 hours straight against impossible odds. And now he had to ask them to split up again. "Choi, Sunho, Bay, you're with me. We're going to the reactor." "What about the command center?" Kang asked. "Yunjina, hold this position. Yunji, keep running interference on their communications. We stop that reactor or everyone dies. Simple as that." Private Shinjina checked her weapon. 3 magazines left. She'd started with 15. "We'll hold, sir." Corporal Yoon Daeho just nodded. His eyes were cold, focused. He'd killed 47 aliens today, He'd kill 47 more if needed. Captain Han led his small team through the station's maze of corridors, heading for engineering and the reactor core. Behind them, the aliens were gathering for another assault on the command center. Ahead, Velthar waited with 30 soldiers guarding the only approach to the reactor. The clock was ticking. 6 hours to save the station, 5 hours and 40 minutes until the reactor went critical. And somewhere in the dark between stars, Earth's third fleet was racing toward them at maximum speed. But help was still days away. 42 hours into the siege, Captain Han Jiwoo moved through the darkened corridors with 3 Marines at his back. Every step sent pain lancing through his wounded side. He ignored it. Pain was temporary. Reactor meltdown was permanent. Contact front, Sergeant Choi Minho whispered, holding up a fist. The team froze. Ahead in the dim emergency lighting, Hive soldiers scuttled along walls and ceiling, 6 of them guarding the approach to engineering. Between Han's team and the reactor core stood these 6, plus the 30 Velthar had positioned around the reactor itself. Sunho, Bei, suppressing fire on my mark. Choi, you're with me. We go through fast and hard. Like always, Choi replied with a tired grin. 3, 2, 1. Mark. Private Sunho and Private Bei opened fire, their rifles lighting up the corridor. The aliens scattered, returning plasma fire. Under cover of the chaos, Han and Choi sprinted forward, staying low, using every piece of cover. An alien dropped from the ceiling directly onto Choi, its blade arms raised for a killing strike. The sergeant twisted, bringing his knife up into the creature's throat. Green blood sprayed. Choi shoved the dying alien aside and kept moving. Han shot 2 more at point-blank range, his sidearm barking. 1 fell. The second took 3 shots before it stopped moving. These Hive soldiers wore heavier armor than the earlier ones. Velthar was committing his best troops. Clear, Choi called. 6 aliens down in 15 seconds. Regroup and advance, Han ordered, reloading while moving. His hands operated on muscle memory because his brain was busy calculating. 30 guards, plus however many were still functional after the earlier fighting. 60 enemies minimum. 4 Marines. The math was terrible. But math had been terrible for 2 days, and they were still breathing. At the command center, Corporal Yoon Daeho settled into his position and waited. The Hive would attack here soon. He could feel it. They needed to keep the defenders busy while Velthar dealt with Han's team. Private Nam, he called to Yoonji. How many headed our way? Yoonji checked her sensors. 39 hostiles. Coming from 3 directions. Yoon did quick math. 39 enemies, 3 defenders. Himself, Private Gina, and Ambassador Kang. Plus Yoonji, but she wasn't really a combat soldier. Gina, take the east corridor. Ambassador, you've got west. I'll handle north. That's 15 to 1 odds on each approach, Kang pointed out. Yeah, barely seems fair to them. Yoon's smile was cold. The aliens came carefully at first. They'd learned that rushing humans resulted in death. They used cover, advanced by bounds, maintained overlapping fields of fire. Professional. Disciplined. Yoon shot the first one through the head from 200 meters. The alien behind it froze, trying to locate the shooter. Second shot. Another body. The aliens dove for cover and returned fire. Plasma bolts screamed through the air. Yoon was already relocating, using the station's maintenance passages to appear in a completely different position. Third shot. Fourth shot. Each one carefully aimed. Each one a kill. On the east corridor, Gina held her ground with determination born of pure stubbornness. 13 aliens advanced toward her position. She'd set mines earlier, borrowed from the station's emergency equipment. The first 3 aliens triggered them. 10 left. Gina's rifle clicked empty. She dropped it and drew her sidearm. 7 rounds. Not enough. Never enough. An alien charged her position. She shot it. And the next. And the next. 3 rounds left. She threw her last grenade, dove behind a bulkhead, and prayed. The explosion bought her time to reload. 5 aliens remained. They were being more cautious now. Good. Caution was slow, and slow gave her time. On the west corridor, Ambassador Kang fought with the desperate precision of someone who'd never expected to be in combat. His rifle felt clumsy in his diplomatic hands, but he aimed and fired like the Marine instructors had taught him during the brief weapons familiarization all station personnel received. His first shots missed. The aliens advanced. He adjusted, breathed, squeezed the trigger instead of pulling. An alien fell. Then another. Kang felt sick. He'd spent years advocating for peace, for understanding between species. Now he was killing them. But they'd come here to murder. They'd struck first. This wasn't war. This was survival. He kept firing. In engineering, Captain Han's team reached the outer security perimeter. Velthar's 30 guards were positioned in a defensive ring around the reactor access. Smart positioning. No way to flank them. Only way through was straight ahead. Suggestions? Han asked his team. We could try. Bay started, an alarm shrieked. 4 hours until reactor critical. No time for clever, Han decided. We go through. Fast, violent, overwhelming. Make them think there's more of us than there is. There's 4 of us, Sunho pointed out, so we make them think there's 8. Spread out. Lots of noise. Keep moving. Never stay still. Make every shot count. Choi checked his weapon. 2 magazines left. This is going to hurt. Probably, Han agreed. Do it anyway. They attacked from 4 directions simultaneously, each Marine a 1-person assault force. Han went straight up the middle, his rifle on full auto, spraying bullets to force the aliens into cover. Not accurate, but terrifying. Choi flanked left, using smoke grenades to mask his approach. He appeared out of the smoke like a ghost, shotgun roaring. At close range, the weapon was devastating. Sunho went right and high, climbing onto machinery to get an elevated position. His rifle barked steadily, controlled bursts that dropped aliens before they could locate him. Bay brought up the rear, laying down, suppressing fire, and tossing grenades to keep the aliens disoriented. The Hive soldiers, expecting a cautious approach, were overwhelmed by the sheer audacity of 4 humans attacking 30. They returned fire, but the Marines were always moving, always shooting, always somewhere unexpected. In 3 minutes, 10 aliens were dead. The humans had taken multiple wounds but kept fighting. Velthar watched from the reactor chamber and felt genuine fear for the first time. These creatures fought like nothing he'd encountered. No fear, no hesitation. Just relentless, savage aggression. Fall back, he ordered his guards. Into the reactor chamber. Make them come to us. The remaining 20 guards retreated through the heavy blast door. It sealed with a hiss of hydraulics, reinforced, designed to contain reactor malfunctions. It would take serious explosives to breach. We don't have serious explosives, Bay noted. We use them all. Han studied the door. 3 hours and 40 minutes until critical. They had to get through. Yunji, he called on the comm. Can you override the blast door? Static, then, negative, sir. They've locked me out of that system. You'll need to... Her voice cut off in a burst of gunfire. Yunji? Unji, report. Yoon's voice came through instead, grim. Captain, they're hitting the command center hard. We need Yunji on the guns. She'll call you back. Han cursed. The command center was under assault. His path to the reactor was blocked and the clock kept ticking. At the command center, Private Nam Yunji discovered she was braver than she thought. The aliens had breached the outer perimeter. 3 of them were in the communications room with her. She wasn't a combat soldier. She was signals intelligence. But she was also a Marine, and Marines didn't quit. Her first shot missed. The second hit. The alien stumbled. Third shot put it down. She swung her rifle toward the second alien. It fired first. Plasma grazed her shoulder, burning through fabric and flesh. Yunji screamed but didn't stop shooting. The alien fell. The third alien's blade arm swept toward her throat. Yunji blocked with her rifle. The blade cut through the weapon's stock, ruining it. She still had the barrel. She jabbed it into the alien's eye cluster and pulled the trigger. The rifle exploded, damaged beyond safe use. The alien collapsed. Yunji's hands were shaking. Her shoulder hurt. Her rifle was destroyed. But she was alive. Captain, she called, her voice unsteady, I'm back. What do you need? The blast door to the reactor chamber. Any way through? Yunji checked her systems with her one good arm. There's a maintenance shaft, narrow, really narrow. It bypasses the door but opens inside the chamber. Where? She sent him the location. Sir, it's only about half a meter wide. You'll have to crawl. Han looked at the shaft entrance. Barely wide enough for a human. Definitely not wide enough to bring weapons larger than a sidearm. Going through would mean leaving rifles behind. Being vulnerable. I'll go, Choi volunteered. I'm smallest. No, Han decided. I need you here keeping them busy. I'm going through. Captain, you're wounded. That's an order, Sergeant. You 3 keep their attention on this door. I'll come up behind them through the shaft. Choi started to argue, saw Han's expression and nodded reluctantly. Don't die in there, old man. Wasn't planning on it. Han stripped off his tactical vest and rifle.
Kept his sidearm and knife.
3 magazines. That was all he could carry through the shaft. He squeezed into the opening and began crawling. The shaft was dark, cramped, and filled with sharp edges. Every movement pulled at his wound. Blood loss was making him dizzy. He ignored it and kept crawling. Behind him, he heard Choi, Sunho, and Bei open fire on the blast door, making noise, keeping the aliens focused outward. Ahead, somewhere in the darkness, was the reactor chamber. And Velthar, and 20 Hive soldiers who didn't know death was crawling toward them through the walls. Han smiled grimly and kept moving. 3 hours until reactor critical. Time to end this. Captain Han Jiwoo emerged from the maintenance shaft into hell. The reactor chamber was massive, filled with the thrum of barely contained fusion energy. 20 Hive soldiers stood guard, their weapons trained on the main blast door where Choi's team kept up suppressing fire. None of them watched the maintenance access. Han drew his sidearm and started shooting first, alien down before the others realized they were being attacked from behind. Second alien fell as it turned. Han was already moving, using the reactor's massive support structures for cover. Behind us, one alien chittered. In the chamber. Velthar's mandibles clacked in fury. How, the shaft is too small? Apparently not, Han called out, shooting another alien. His voice was calm despite the pain in his side and the dizziness from blood loss. Humans are flexible. Also, you're an idiot for not guarding it. He ducked as plasma fire scorched the air where his head had been, rolled, came up shooting. Another alien down. Velthar ordered 10 soldiers to pursue Han while the remaining 9 held the blast door. Han led the pursuing aliens on a deadly game of cat and mouse through the reactor chamber's maze of equipment. He knew they had superior numbers, but he had home advantage, knowledge of the terrain, and absolutely nothing to lose. An alien rounded a corner. Han's knife found its throat before it could fire. He took its weapon and kept moving. At the blast door, Sergeant Choi heard the chaos inside. Captains engaged. Time to crash this party. How? Bei asked. That door's rated for reactor containment. Choi grinned fiercely. So we don't go through the door. He set his last explosive charge against the wall. Not the reinforced blast door, the regular wall beside it. The explosion blew a hole in the wall large enough for a person. Choi went through first, firing as he moved. Sunho and Bei followed. The 9 aliens guarding the door found themselves in a crossfire. Choi from their flank, and from their rear. They died quickly. Velthar watched his elite guards fall and realized the truth with crystal clarity. He was going to lose. These humans, these supposedly primitive mammals, had beaten his superior force through sheer tenacity and tactical brilliance. Surrender, Han called out, breathing hard. Blood soaked his uniform. He'd been shot twice more during the fighting. Each breath hurt. Your soldiers are dead, you lost. Surrender and live. Never, Velthar screamed. I am a commander of the Hive Collective. I do not surrender to prey. He charged, blade arms extended, fast, deadly. Han was faster. 2 shots. Center mass. Velthar fell, his mandibles still working, trying to speak. But his translator was damaged. Only clicks and chitters emerged. Han stood over him, swaying slightly from blood loss. We're not prey. We're apex predators. You just forgot to check what we hunt. Velthar's eyes dimmed. The last of the Hive Collective force was dead. Choi, Han said quietly. The reactor. How much time? 90 minutes, sir. Can you stop it? The sergeant was already at the controls, his fingers flying over the interface. It's complicated. They really messed this up. I can slow it down, but stopping it completely... He trailed off, studying the readouts. Han keyed his comm. Yoonji, patch me through to station-wide. Done, sir. Han took a breath. This is Captain Han Jiwoo to all remaining personnel. The hostile force has been eliminated. I repeat, all hostiles are neutralized. We've taken the reactor chamber. But there's damage to the containment systems. We're working on it, just hold on. At the command center, Private Nam Yoonji slumped against her console. Her shoulder burned where the plasma had grazed her. But they'd done it. They'd actually done it. Casualties? She asked Corporal Yoon. Ambassador Kang took a hit to the leg. He'll live. Gina's treating him now. And us? Yoon checked himself. Burns on his arm, shrapnel in his side, countless bruises. We're alive. That counts as a win. In the reactor chamber, Sergeant Choi worked frantically. The sabotage was extensive. Velthar had really wanted this station destroyed. Captain, I can vent the plasma buildup, but it'll burn out the primary systems. The station will lose power for weeks, and someone has to stay here to manually operate the vents. Radiation? Han asked. Lethal levels. Whoever stays here won't make it out alive. Silence fell over the chamber. Bay and Sunho exchanged glances. They all knew what this meant. I'll do it, Han said simply. Sir, Choi started. Not open for debate, Sergeant. You three get to the command center. Seal the bulkheads behind you. I'll vent the plasma and shut down the reactor. Captain, this is a suicide mission. Han smiled tiredly. I'm already dead, Choi. Lost too much blood. I can feel it. Got maybe an hour left in me. Might as well use it to save everyone else. I won't leave you here, Choi said stubbornly. Yes, you will. Because that's an order. And because someone needs to tell my story. Han's voice hardened. 300 aliens attacked this station. 8 Marines survived to kill every single one of them. That story gets told, Sergeant. You make sure it gets told. Choi's jaw clenched. He saluted sharply. Sir, yes, sir. Good man. Now go. The 3 Marines retreated, sealing the bulkheads behind them. Han watched them leave, then turned to the reactor controls. The pain in his side was fading. Not a good sign. Shock and blood loss were catching up. He began the shutdown sequence. His hands were steady despite everything. This was what he trained for. Protecting others. Completing the mission. The fact that it would kill him was irrelevant. Outside the station, space rippled. Earth's 3rd Fleet dropped out of hyperspace, weapons hot, ready for battle. Admiral Park Suji looked at her tactical display and frowned. Ma'am, I'm reading no hostile ships. The station is damaged but intact, and there's a distress beacon broadcasting from the command center. Get me whoever's in charge down there. A moment later, Sergeant Choi Minho's face appeared on the screen. He looked exhausted, wounded, and grimly satisfied. Admiral Park, good to see you. Sergeant? What happened here? We were attacked by approximately 300 Hive Collective and Scaled Empire soldiers, ma'am. 300? Against how many Marines? 12, ma'am. 8 survived. Park stared at him. Say that again. 12 Marines held against 300 hostiles for 48 hours, ma'am. All hostile forces eliminated. The station is secure. The bridge crew went silent. Someone did the math. That's a 37-to-1 kill ratio. 37.5, actually, Choi corrected. We're precise about these things. Park felt something shift in her understanding of what humans could accomplish. Your commanding officer? Choi's expression hardened. Captain Han Jiwoo is currently in the reactor chamber preventing a meltdown. He's been wounded multiple times. Choi paused. He won't be coming out, ma'am. Get my medical team down there now. Bulkheads are sealed, Admiral. Radiation's too high. Captain's orders. He's saving the station and everyone on it. In the reactor chamber, Han heard the exchange. He smiled and continued his work. The venting process was nearly complete. Just a few more minutes. His vision was getting blurry. Hands weren't responding quite right. That was okay. Almost done. Captain Han! Admiral Park's voice came through his comm. Stand by. We're sending a drone team through the maintenance shaft. Negative, Admiral. No time and no point. I'm done anyway. Just make sure my people are taken care of. Captain, tell them they did good, Admiral. Tell them I'm proud. The venting process completed. The reactor began its emergency shutdown. The station's lights flickered and died as power systems went offline. Emergency lighting kicked in. Han slid down the wall, his strength finally failing. Not a bad way to go, he thought. Saved his people. Completed the mission. Defeated the enemy against impossible odds. Not bad at all. 3 days later, the station was stabilized. Earth's fleet had brought portable generators. Medical teams treated the survivors. Engineers began repairs. In the command center, now functioning on emergency power, Ambassador Kang Hyunwoo stood before a camera. His leg was bandaged, but he insisted on standing. This is a message to the Galactic Council, he began. 3 days ago, the Hive Collective and Scaled Empire attacked this station without provocation. They brought 300 soldiers against our small garrison. They believed we would be easy prey. He paused, letting that sink in. They were wrong. 12 human Marines defended this station. 8 survived. 0 attackers escaped. The kill ratio was 37.5 to 1, in humanity's favor. Kang's expression hardened. The Hive Collective and Scaled Empire have sued for peace. We accept. But let this be a lesson to anyone else considering humanity easy targets. We are not prey. We are not weak. We are not defenseless. Attack us at your peril. The message spread across the galaxy within hours. Every species with faster-than-light communication received it. The footage from the station's cameras went with it. Video of 12 humans holding against hundreds. Of Captain Han Jiwoo making his final stand in the reactor chamber. The Galactic Council convened an emergency session. Council observer Thalmos, who'd been monitoring the situation from a neutral ship, presented his report. The mathematics were undeniable. The footage was clear. Humans, the youngest spacefaring species, had just demonstrated combat effectiveness that exceeded every established military force in the galaxy. We must revise all threat assessments, Thalmos concluded. Humanity is far more dangerous than previously believed. They're Deathworlders, one council member whispered. True Deathworlders, the term spread. Deathworlders, beings from planets so hostile that survival required becoming apex predators. Earth fit the definition perfectly, gravity higher than most habitable worlds, atmosphere with corrosive oxygen, weather systems that could kill, and humans who evolved to hunt prey across continents who refused to give up even when dying. The Hive Collective's leadership resigned in disgrace. The Scaled Empire paid massive reparations. Both species issued formal apologies, and humanity's diplomatic position transformed overnight. 2 months later, a memorial was erected on Terran Station Omega. 8 names were carved in stone. The 4 Marines who died in the fighting, and Captain Han Jiwoo who gave his life to save everyone else. The inscription was simple. They held the line. Below it, a single number, 37.5. Every species that visited the station saw that memorial, saw that number, and understood. Humanity could be peaceful. Humanity preferred peace. But humanity, when pressed, would fight with a ferocity that defied belief, would hold against impossible odds, would win battles that should have been certain defeat. The galaxy learned its lesson. Don't underestimate humans. Don't attack their stations. Don't threaten their people. Because if you ask what's the kill ratio for one Earth Marine, the answer would shatter your expectations, and quite possibly your invasion force.